At JCPenney's Memorial Day sale, sizzling deals are on, with store-wide doorbusters all weekend. Or bring home savings up to 50% during our Memorial Day home sale. Save even more with your coupon. And for all former and active military personnel, enjoy an extra 10% off in-store. Just show a valid military or VA ID at checkout. Shopping is back. JCPenney. Coupon valid on select styles through 5/30. Some exclusions apply. Doorbusters valid 5/26 through 5/30 and excluded from coupons. See store or jcp.com for details.
Waiting for this light to turn green. I'm headed to work for a boss so mean. I'm gonna be late. She's gonna be...
There are some things we should do alone, like sing in your car.
If this light doesn't turn, I'm gonna scream.
But when you gamble, you should always do it with others, because gambling with friends helps keep things in check. So go to keepitfunohio.com for more tips like this. Keep it fun, keep it social, but your singing? Maybe keep that to yourself.
Are you ready, kids? Get your parents' permission, check your mailbox, and grab your shopping cart. It's time for the Adventures in Collecting podcast.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Dave. Welcome to Adventures in Collecting, where we talk toy news, culture, and hauls,
along with our journeys as collectors. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Adventures in Collecting.
Hello, everyone, and yeah.
Whoa.
I wanted to do the added intro.
well, thanks, Dave. I felt like I had an echo chamber here.
I was practicing in case.
In case what? Are you expecting me to drop dead or something?
No, just in case, we wanted to fool everyone one time.
we got you. Now everyone's going to be waiting. They're going to be waiting for the moment.
We did
Dave.
it this time.
Well, Dave, we're back. New episode, right?
Yes,
we're here.
We are.
Hi.
When we're and the Instagram exists again.
Oh yeah. If you listen to the last episode, which you absolutely should listen to the last episode because Michael was an amazing guest.
I mean, listen to this one first, but then listen to the previous.
But we had a really long-winded intro about how Instagram took our account away. But guess what? It's back. So once again, we are at AIC_podcast. We're not going to get into the details of how it came back or why it came back because honestly, we don't know. We don't know. We have thoughts, but we're gonna keep those to ourselves. But the account is back. So thank you to everybody. And again, it's like I feel like we're repeating ourselves, but our guest today is one of the people who was very helpful in spreading the word of our account mishap. Our befallen Instagram account. So I guess I'm not burying the lead, Dave.
No, not tonight.
So if you follow us on Instagram, which again, we're at AIC_podcast again, you know how important toy photography is to us and to the toy community writ large. Joining us today is a photographer that inspires us with his creativity and talent, ultrasound technician by day, crack toy photographer, and the closest thing to a real-life Pokemon trainer that we know by night. Welcome to the podcast, Adam Cavazos, AKA Nostalgic Adam. Adam, welcome to Adventures in Collecting, man.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. This is very exciting. And I got to say, I'm happy to have you guys back. Not sure what's going on the Instagram world and side of things, but it's always good to see you guys be back and be able to share the good news and the toy news going on throughout the community.
Well, thank you. We're happy to be back in front of our the family we spent the last 3 years building. So
absolutely,
it's good to be back.
Yeah, that's what I was hearing on the last one was on your last cast was it was 3 years now that you guys have been going on. I love that. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's crazy. I can't imagine that like when we started this when we committed to it that we'd still be doing it 3 years later. But here we are.
No, I love it.
or any of it, to be honest.
This is true. This is true. I mean, we don't have a really great track record of committing to hobbies, Dave.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's also just the fact that I think that people found it interesting and kind of care that's really what's been able to kind of spur it forward.
It definitely helps. Screaming into the wind is isn't the most fun of things. So it's nice.
Difficult too.
Yeah.
It's very difficult.
So before we jump in and learn and learn a whole lot more about you, Adam, since this is a show about collecting, first thing we ask all of our guests, what are you currently collecting?
Oh man, when I saw the show notes, I was like, man, an easier question would be, what am I not collecting? So anybody who follows me knows that I'm heavy into Jurassic. I'm heavy into Pokemon, Star Wars, Sonic, Nintendo, Yoshi. Like, I collect a very broad spectrum of things, which really hurts like my wallet like a lot of times, especially with how much cool stuff's going on. But I'd say right now I'm really, really heavy into Pokemon, Halo, Jurassic, Star Wars. I mean, I can keep going, but all those things I'm super into right now. And a very obscure thing that is kind of new for me is prototype toys.
Okay.
I found it's crazy, like, because I work overnight over at the hospital, so like I'm graveyard, so I have more downtime than I would say like a morning tech, and I'm on like rabbit holes on YouTube videos and like posts and Reddit, and I'm looking at all these things, and I find about prototype toys, and I'm down this crazy prototype toy hole. So that's what I've been collecting on the more obscure end right now, and I have a few in transit right now, so I'm pretty excited about it.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, we've bumped into the world of prototype toys here and there with some of our guests. Going way back when we had Brian Volk-Weiss on, he is a huge prototype collector, and
or
so
even Matt, too.
yeah, and Matt Cardona. Yeah, it is a fascinating world. They were both talking about like private Facebook groups that are specifically for people who collect prototypes, and yeah, it's but I mean, in some cases it's some of the only ways to get certain figures, especially for like lines that got abandoned. So like just today, right, NECA announced that their SummerCon exclusive is that lost wave of LJN Dungeons and Dragons figures. So like the ones that were previously only available as prototypes, they have the license to make them. So they're making a 4-inch scale, like they're making those figures. So like if like the I forget what year it is, it's got to be mid 80s.
Wow.
Those LJN Dungeons and Dragons figures, they're making the lost wave. So people have been waiting decades for those figures to come out, and they finally are.
That's insane, because I look back at some of these older toys from the company called Toy Sight. They did a lot of Nintendo characters back in the day in the 90s, and they had unreleased Banjo-Kazooie, like a Toy Sight toy, like it was ready to go. They had it on the show floor, ready to rock, and for whatever reason, they never produced it. And this person I follow on YouTube, and he's on forums and stuff like that. His name's NightRam56, I believe is his handles, but he's a crazy cool Nintendo collector. He's awesome. He was the only one who had that prototype show, toy, and he recently let it go because he wasn't really into collecting Banjo-Kazooie anymore. He sold it on his eBay listing. I think it was like $3,000 for that. And it's nuts, because you think, like, looking back then, you're like, man, like, if only they would have just made that toy, like how successful that would have been, So that's a toy that will never get made now, because Toy Sight doesn't obviously have I don't even think they're around, but they don't even have the license anymore. But that's cool that Dungeons and Dragons is bringing figures, to life now that were supposedly, canceled or prototypes and not coming. So that's cool. That's definitely a bittersweet thing to see.
Now, one of the things that you are most known for, of course, is the toy photography aspect of collecting. How did you get into the toy photography part, and kind of really what kind of gets you going as far as that goes?
Man, honestly, it was I had like a bunch of toys as it is. I was just already a casual collector at the time. This was like 2017, 16. I've been a collector my entire life, but I was more up to date on things around that time frame. But I was just casually going through Instagram, and I saw some people, posting photos with their toys, and they looked really cool. They made them look like, really authentic. One of them was Wolfside Jordan. I met him a few times. He's awesome. He inspired me to take up this hobby. Switpix Spencer, he was one of another one that I saw just on my Instagram feed of just these photos. And I was like, wow, like that's like so awesome. Like I have all these toys. Like I should try to do something like that. And I had an old DSLR camera, and I just started taking pictures, and here we are, like almost what 4 or 5 years later now.
Yeah, I mean, it's so talking to a bunch of photographers now over the last 3 years, and kind of going from like dabbling in it as part of doing unboxings to like just taking toy photography, almost daily at this point. It's so interesting to see how kind of everybody fell ass backwards
Yeah.
into it. Like there are very few people who one day decided like I'm going to be a toy photographer. And like the only people I could really think of, or person I should say, is Mitchell Wu, who was like a wedding photographer and hated doing it, and like hated the like photography gig, and to like decompress would take pictures of toys, and finally was just like, no, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And obviously Mitchell being one of the rare examples of somebody who turned it into like a full-fledged career, right?
Right.
But it's so interesting to see how like people start like just taking them with their phone, and then all of a sudden they have real cameras and lights, and yeah, it's wild.
Right. And when you mention about having a phone, I feel like a lot of people get discouraged, because they see some of us. And I honestly I bought my new camera, which I paid a pretty penny for, but I had an old DSL camera from like 2000 and what are we at, 2022 right now? So 2010. I had it for like almost 12 years. And honestly, it barely took better photos than like a standard iPhone that you can have in your pocket right now. And I had that forever, and I took, all my photos on that until I just recently upgraded. But I feel like a lot of people get discouraged, because they don't, have all the fancy cameras and all the lenses and stuff like that. And you don't need a lot of that stuff. As long as you have your phone, and obviously lighting is a big thing, you can create some awesome things. I know a lot of people that do that, and people have done comparisons, and that's something I would like to do in the future is take the same shot on my DSLR camera, and then the same shot on my iPhone, and then edit it the same way, and just show a difference between the two. So I think that's important for people to know, that you don't need all the fancy stuff. You just start shooting, just to start taking photos.
So speaking of gear, you mentioned that you have that you just got a new camera. Since this really is kind of one of the first profiles that we've done on a toy photographer, let's do a little gear talk here. What are you shooting on and editing with?
Yeah. Well, I just now picked it up. It's a Canon EOS R, and it's a fantastic camera. It was a toss up between the Sony of this style and this Canon, and I've just kind of been a Canon guy. I do think Sony does a better job as far as video recording. I think they have that in the bag. But I love the way the Canon felt, the way it looked, and I'm just more familiar with that. So I'm using this Canon DSLR camera. And as far as lighting goes, I just picked up a bunch of lights and stuff off Amazon. I have these Amarin aperture lights, and they come with these little filters. And so there's a bunch of different colors, and you can slide them out and combine them and create different hues and stuff like that for whatever scene you're trying to create. And those work really well. They're cheap. They're like $50. I have like 4 of them, and they help me in a lot of ways. So, but other than that, and then I have just like a Geek Oto tripod, and just my lights. And then as far as editing goes, Man, Photoshop is insane. Some of the stuff that people do out there is crazy. I've barely scratched the surface, and I'm still learning. I pick up everything that I learn off YouTube, and I encourage everybody to do that. If you don't know how to do something, look it up on YouTube. That's exactly what I do. Like, how do I create flames for Charizard? I looked it up on YouTube, and I, started doing it, and then it looks, better now than what it first did. So I use Adobe Lightroom and then Adobe Photoshop, and just combine those things with my toys, and then have my photos.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing the amount of free instruction you can get on YouTube, and how smart like search is, right? Because if it's a lot of times, like at least I've noticed, if I'm searching for something that's editing related, before I can even finish typing it in YouTube, it's already completed. Like it already knows where my brain is going, and it's just like, oh, there's probably hundreds of other people searching this exact same thing, right?
Right.
But yeah, same thing. Like we did a video for our first annual Archie Awards, and I had no idea how to do like keying with like a green screen to make something happen like in the background. And I just remember going like, well, I guess I'll go to YouTube and figure it out.
Oh, that's the beauty of YouTube. I love YouTube so much, and just it's crazy. Anything and everything you could think of is pretty much on there.
So you've gotten a chance to get a first crack at Pokemon from our mutual friends at Jazwares. How did that opportunity come your way?
Man, I love the team over at Pokemon team over at Jazwares. They are so connected with the fans, the fan base, and the community, and what people are looking for, and they just know how to interact. It doesn't matter if you have 100,000 followers or like 1,000 followers or less than that. They respond, they interact, they like your stuff, they see it. And honestly, I met them just by doing my toy photography stuff. I can't even think of a specific moment. I think maybe Aaron had shared he had followed me, and then maybe she shared something that I had done. And this was when he was, he had his hands in Halo and Pokemon at the time. It might have been he saw my Pokemon and Halo shots. I think it was my Aerodactyl shot that I did. And we just started connecting that way, and he started seeing a little bit more of my stuff, and we would communicate and chit chat back and forth. And then I met Leah and Andy, and then and then I met the rest of the crew, and it just started. They just kind of welcomed me in like family, just like talking to me, and just it's awesome. I can't say enough good things about them.
Yeah, they are so like we've found that same experience. Really cool. They're not only are they like approachable and communicative, but like they're so engaged. Yes. Like from Jeremy down, like they are just all so engaged.
Absolutely. And I think as a toy company or any business in general, when you communicate with your buyers, your fans, or anything, and you like you said, you're more approachable, you're going to have that fan or that seller the rest of their life for the most part, and they do a good job of that. And it's something I like to see with other toy companies. But they just, I feel like they have a lot of, loyal fans now for life, just because of the way they interact with the community.
Plus, they're just fun. Like, like they have such a fun team over there. Like, just personality wise.
Yes, and I will say this too is they know their stuff. Like they're not only it's not only their job, quote unquote, but they're fans of the products themselves. Like Aaron can school, I think, anybody that I know, or anybody that's, I would say, even works for the higher ups from Pokemon. He could probably lay down some serious knowledge on some folks up there that they probably don't even know yet. He is just a wealth of knowledge, and that exudes through him in the toys that he makes, and the passion is because he loves the product, he loves Pokemon, he grew up with it, and when you have your heart and soul and passion into it, like it shows through your work, and it's just, yeah, he's fantastic.
Yeah, talk about bringing us to school. I mean, school was in session when he was on the pod.
Yes. Yeah, I remember that was a really good pod. Yeah.
So you mentioned at the top, the things that you're collecting right now, and right now, especially for things like Pokemon and Jurassic with the new movie like coming out imminently.
Yes.
You have a lot to choose from, lots of new lines, lots of new plastic. What
Yeah.
are your favorite toys to shoot right now?
Man, I'm sitting in my collection room or my game room, and I'm just looking at everything, and it's just there's so much. My favorite things, it's got to be Pokemon, Pokemon, and then Jurassic has their new Hammond collection, which is a 375 highly articulated scale figures. It's like their Amber collection, which is a 6-inch line. But it's now in the 375 inch, so it seems like they might be kind of straying away from the Amber collection and going into the Hammond collection. But I love those figures so far. Right now, they've already this line just was announced, as you all know. But they have the 2 Raptors that we have. Ian, we have Rexy, the Tyrannosaurus Rex, on the way with its. Oh my God, the detail on that dinosaur is insane. It's got a glass eye. Crazy articulation. I can't wait for that. So, Pokemon Hammond collection from Jurassic, and then Halo is obviously my third. Can't get enough of the world of Halo. I've been a 6-inch guy for a while now. I mean, I've always been a 375-inch guy, but you look at Black Series and things like that, and so Black Series I think really helped create a more 6-inch line for other toy companies, but. I used to be really heavy into the Halo 6-inch figures, but I've kind of gone back to the 375. They're a lot. I don't know. They're more playable, and there's so much to them. There's a bigger world building aspect for them that I love.
Well, I mean, they're one of those lines, much like Star Wars and frankly, like the Jurassic figures, where they require big pieces. Like they're normal sized people with big set pieces. So whether it's the warthogs and like some of the more like alien monster type characters in Halo, or obviously dinosaurs in Jurassic, the Jurassic World line, or starships in Star Wars. That's why that 375 scale is always going to be kind of the butter zone, if you will, for world building.
Absolutely, yes, yeah, I couldn't agree with you more.
And by the way, the Amber collection is officially dead. So 6-inch Jurassic figures they are not coming. they're done.
When I saw that latest Target sale where they were just like letting them go 50% off, I was like, oh, I think this is the end for it. But
yeah, when they had one of those, I want to say it was, might have been February, March, when they had that first kind of like little Target mini reveal, and they did the little interview for like their like winter collector con. They had somebody from the Mattel team, and they gave the kind of like, we're moving, back towards kind of like the idea of the Legacy collection, but we want to treat it the way that we treated the Amber collection. So this is the Hammond collection. It was all of like the PR speak for rest in peace Amber collection. So
yes, rest in peace. Yeah, no, it's sad because I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I get it, because like I get it. You try to make a 1/12 scale Rexy. How much is that going to cost? Especially with like inflation and things going up right now. It's like people are already a little tight, as it is on money, and it's getting harder to buy, toys. So I mean, I can only imagine how much 1/12 scale Rexy would have cost. But it's interesting to think about now. Like, where do you think, collecting wise and value wise, the Amber collection can and will be now? Especially you look at the Dilophosaurus. it seemed like it was like, rarely made. There was a limited number of them, and then they just like kind of stopped, and they go for like $230 now for a once was $20 item. So yeah, it's going to be. I'm very curious how value wise that Amber collection will be.
I think certain things like the dinos, I'm sure. The Raptors, they made a ton of those, so I think it's going to be quite some time before you start seeing mint on card ones that are going to go for a decent amount. But dinosaurs are forever popular. They're going to retain some sort of value. I will say in terms of Amber collection figures, that did surprise me because I had a joke going on with not a joke, but like we had a little bit of a laugh with one of our followers that he said that every now and then every blue moon, I think he said, it's the summer of Pratt, and this is another summer of Pratt. We've reached another one where hashtag Chris Pratt summer is happening, and when he said that, I thought it would be really funny to do a picture of Star-Lord and Owen Grady together with like a raptor, like just doing like some sort of like mashup picture. And I was like, nobody's buying the Amber collection anymore. I should be able to get an Owen pretty cheap. No. No. And like I went to go see the prices for even like a loose one was like $35-$40, and forget it, like a new one they're going for like $60-$70-$80.
Really? Wow. I didn't know that. Wow. That's wild.
Now, I don't know if that's just because of the timing, right? Because like the new movie's coming, and people may, again, for not the same goofy reason that I was looking to pick one up, but like, it just again, the 1/12 scale is so popular. It's it is, frankly, I feel like for a lot of people, it is kind of the main scale, like you said, with things like Star Wars: The Black Series and Marvel Legends and G.I. Joe.
Yeah.
So I guess with the movie coming out, might the aftermarket will kind of see a little bit of a surge, but my Chris Pratt summer picture is just going to have to be Star-Lord now.
Yeah, he has the upcoming Mario movie too, which is insane.
Yeah, that got pushed back to next year, 2023, right?
Yeah, I believe you're right. Real quick, for you and anybody who's maybe listening, I would highly recommend before it sells out and before it's going to be a $230 figure is to buy the Jurassic World Amber Collection male Velociraptor from Target. I believe it's a Target exclusive. It's still in stock, and I think it's like $30. And I mean, I would highly recommend y'all to get that because it is just a beautiful piece. And I am no way, shape, or form endorsed by Mattel, Jurassic, or Target, but as a fan and as a friend, I definitely recommend y'all pick that up because if you want to look at it as investment wise, I think it's going to hold an amazing value. Or if you want it as a collector, pick that up now for sure.
And it's I picked one up when one of them was like on clearance, one of the Target Raptors, the Amber Raptors, and they are beautiful. I wasn't expecting the tail to be like a wired, like bendy rubber tail, like have like a bendy wire in the tail. Was not expecting that. On top of it being an articulated ball joint, there's way more joints in that thing than I could have ever hoped for. Like honestly, it's pretty perfect.
Yes, absolutely.
So I'm with you on that one.
And now a word from our sponsors.
Waiting for this light to turn green. I'm headed to work for a boss so mean. I'm gonna be late. She's gonna be...
There are some things we should do alone, like sing in your car.
If this light doesn't turn, I'm gonna scream.
But when you gamble, you should always do it with others, because gambling with friends helps keep things in check. So go to keepitfunohio.com for more tips like this. Keep it fun, keep it social, but your singing? Maybe keep that to yourself.
At JCPenney's Memorial Day sale, sizzling deals are on, with store-wide doorbusters all weekend. Or bring home savings up to 50% during our Memorial Day home sale. Save even more with your coupon. And for all former and active military personnel, enjoy an extra 10% off in-store. Just show a valid military or VA ID at checkout. Shopping is back. JCPenney. Coupon valid on select styles through 5/30. Some exclusions apply. Doorbusters valid 5/26 through 5/30 and excluded from coupons. See store or jcp.com for details.
And now, back to the show.
So Pokemon cards are a big part of what you showcase. Are there any other cards that you collect?
Okay, as far as cards go, yes, Digimon. So I used to collect Digimon cards back in the day, and I still have like a handful of them. I dabbled with Yu-Gi-Oh recently, but I had a crap ton of Yu-Gi-Oh cards back in the day as well. I still have them, and so as far as like current cards, just Digimon here and there. Like if I see like a cool art that's in a set, yeah, I'll pick up some packs, and see if I can pull it. But Pokemon is and has always been my trading card love, and it will pretty much always be that way.
Yeah, and like they've come a long way, the Pokemon cards. Like
Mhm.
when I was collecting them, it was 1996, right? Probably 1996, 1995, somewhere around there. When they first really the first wave of like Pokemania really hit,
Right. Yeah.
in the United States.
Yeah.
And I remember like I made this not this joke, but I made this kind of observation. When we did our last Pokemon episode was, when the last time I paid attention to Pokemon, short of 2 years ago, there were only 151 of them.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's there's a lot more now.
We're getting very close to 1,000. Yes.
It's wild. It's absolutely wild. And Digimon,
And almost 10 times.
right?
Yes.
In just about as many years. No, a little bit more. It's been a little more than 10 years.
Yeah.
But the other thing too, you mentioned Digimon. That was something where I couldn't believe that was still a thing. And I mean, like the actual Digimon devices, like the little like Tamagotchi style devices are back too. Bandai's making new ones.
Yeah. I think it's the third gen that had I think it's Tai. I think it's Tai, and Tai is like older now, but it's God, what's his name? Davis, Tai, and Ken. I forget Tai. He's older, but it's Davis and Ken. They have like the third gen Digivice. Back in the day when those came out, they were like the Gigapets, Tamagotchis, and stuff like that. Like you were saying, those hold extreme value right now. Like if you have one of those from back in the day, those go for like almost $200. It's
Get out of here!
Oh
my god!
Yeah, I had the Wormmon one. It was a green one, and I can't find it for the life of me because I was like, oh god, I gotta put this on my shelf somewhere, but I can't find it. And then I like Googled it, like, okay, I gotta see how much does it cost. It was like $160, $200. I was like, what? I was like, this is insane. Oh my god.
It's that collector boom that we're going through. Everybody spent. We were just talking about this the other day. Everybody spent the entire pandemic going through their drawers. That's exactly. They were stuck in their house and they were like, "What do I have that I haven't looked at or held in my hand for 20 years?"
It was definitely that, and like a lot of people. When I was like talking with people, they were like they wanted. It was like almost like a feeling, of how they felt from back in the day. Like oh man, like we used to play Mario Party on the Nintendo 64 back in the day. Let's go. We can't go anywhere. Let's go pick one up from eBay or whatever. And like all these people are doing this, and that's like rising the prices. From everything, you got your Wii, you got Nintendo, you have PlayStation, Xbox, all so all the things that you can only do from back in the day or do at home that you wanted to relive from back in the day, like everything just skyrocketed. It was no pun intended, but people wanted that feeling of like nostalgic again.
Well, I mean, it's a good thing. Good thing
absolutely.
you picked the name that you picked on Instagram.
Yeah, that was actually fun fact. That was a really hard name for you to pick from back in the day because I went through all different names and I was like, I'm just getting nostalgic at him. I'm just feeling nostalgic. I'm just gonna exude my nostalgic life on Instagram, and it's gonna be nostalgic Adam. It's just Adam being nostalgic. That's how the name came to be. In case anybody wanted to know.
Hey, I mean, it's worked out for you. It's
Yeah.
And you got that sweet new logo too. Love the new logo.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I'm not one to really show my face too much or like put myself out there. But I've had a lot of people, say, hey, like, we like seeing your interactions. We like, seeing your responses in your face, and stuff like that. So, which, spoiler, I have some awesome card opening videos. I have 2 cameras now. So I have some awesome pack opening videos that I'm going to be doing where you can actually see my face and see all the goofy expressions I make when I pull rare cards and stuff like that. But yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. But yeah, it's always been kind of harder for me to like show myself because I wanted to kind of be like under the radar and stuff like that. But I was like, screw it. It's myself is within my name on Nostalgic Adam, so I got to just show myself a little bit more.
So speaking of your new dual camera fancy setup, what's your favorite part about doing a card break?
Ooh, man, just pulling that card. Like when you are hunting for a specific card, like for example, the last big one that I had was Celebrations, the OG base set Charizard that they reprinted for that. I hunted and hunted and hunted. And yes, I spent more money on buying packs and stuff like that when I could have bought it outright. Yes, I know that. But just that feeling when you're hunting and you're doing these things live on your Instagram live or whatever, and you're trying to get it and you pull that card, there is nothing like it. I posted the reel. If y'all are interested, scroll down, you'll find it somewhere of me pulling that card. But that is my favorite thing, is when you get that card and you just are holding it. There's nothing like that. It brings you back. It brought me back anyways, back when I was like 9 years old and I was just deep into Pokemon. That's the feeling that I had. And that was you can't buy that feeling.
So I recently, Dave and I recently did a card break together where I kind of filmed it, and I don't know anything about card collecting.
I know slightly more. So.
I know nothing. Like I know enough about like what a rare Pokemon card looks like. They've honestly they've since changed quite a bit where like the entire card is now hollow or foil or however, like it's like almost like edge to edge hollow.
Yes.
Whereas I remember it just being a little window. But I'm watching Dave pull pull cards from what was it? It was like a blaster box, right? An AEW one?
Yeah, it was an AEW blaster.
And I'm sitting there behind the camera, initially not saying anything, just kind of watching. But then I found myself just like asking questions because Dave's like, talking through the break as one would as you're filming it, and all of a sudden I'm like, well, what does that mean?
and there were times where I was like, well, great question.
Yeah.
Anyone want to leave a comment?
Yeah. Yeah, there is so much to cards now. Like, I'm not familiar with the AEW card line. I think they're cool, and that's awesome. There's awesome pieces, that you can get from like autographs and things like that. And I think that's awesome. But there's so much, there's like in certain cards like parallel rares, and there's like these types of rares and stuff like that. It's nuts.
Now,
like there's 2 different kinds of like where based off of the different color foil is what and then some are numbered, and
right.
There's so many things where I'm like the first one I ever did. I had found a regular box of AEW cards, and I'm like, in the comments, people are like, "Oh, that's this card," and I'm like, "Oh, I just thought it was another foil card because they look almost exactly the same." Right?
Yeah. It's crazy. Even some cards are just like small differences, but it's like big value, I guess, between those two differences.
So, do Pokemon cards still do first editions?
They don't.
Okay.
No. I'm trying to think if they have anything that's comparable to a first edition. No. They stopped that, I think, after Neo Revelations or Neo Destiny. I believe they stopped that. Which, good and bad. I like the appeal of first editions, just like I like the appeal of Chase. But I hate trying to find a chase of something because I feel like I spend forever trying to find it, So, yeah.
Yeah, because I remember that back in the day, like if you had like I know now, like first edition Shadowless Charizard, is like the card. But I remember when I was younger and I was collecting them, like my first edition Dragonite was like my favorite. I
Yeah.
loved that gray card with like the like rainbow foil behind Dragonite.
Yes, yeah, the one where he's sitting down, right?
Yep,
Yep,
the best.
Yep, yeah, that's a great card.
But yeah, it's so much fun like watching them because you know even standing there watching Dave open the cards because like one of the cards was had like a clipping of like a ring gear like at like a like ring worn ring gear was like embedded in the card, which completely like blew my mind. But watching you know
I thought I didn't get what you were saying. A ring gear, like it was like piece of like the clothing that was like
Yeah.
card. Okay,
Yeah, it's like a relic of like a t-shirt or like
Okay.
somebody's
pants.
Yeah, yes,
You have a tiny 2x2 square of Penta's shorts.
yeah. It was part of his sock.
Hey, it's ring worn, man.
Yeah,
You
might get some ring worm too.
If you're not careful.
Yeah,
put that thing in a top loader and wash your hands.
yeah. Don't touch your face.
But the thing is, like watching these breaks and like you know you referenced the one where you got that Charizard. I remember watching that and like I'm just grinning thinking about it again because the like joy is infectious.
Yes.
When one of those cards hits.
Oh.
So they're definitely if you're sitting there thinking like I hope whoever's watching this is having as much fun as I am, like everyone lives vicariously through these videos. Everyone does.
Oh, good. Yeah, that was one of the things too, where I was like, you know what, like, you know, I got to set up two cameras. You know, like some of the the huge awesome YouTube card breakers out there, they do that, and I was like, you know what, I got to do it. You know, like. And then thinking about it, I was like, man, I wonder what my face actually looked like when I actually pulled that card. And then I want to know for my own self, like, oh my God, like how goofy did I really look like this? Like, oh, like I can only imagine, you know? So I'm like, I got to do it. So yeah, I'm excited about it.
Now you mentioned the Charizard, the reproduction one, being a really cool pull. And obviously, you know, I can attest to having watched the video. But outside of that poll, was there anything recently that comes to mind that you got where you were like through the moon?
Ooh, not to that level. No. Not to that level. I did pull some very quality Charizard cards from Brilliant Stars. One of them I did film, and I believe I put that one on my Instagram. And this was before I had two cameras, and I was just kind of like, I was opening a lot of packs on Instagram for a while, and I was like, you know what, I want to just like relish in some like packs, like just mano, just myself. So I had some cool cards off camera, but nothing that was that extent of that Charizard at that time. But I think when I think it's Astral Radiance that's coming out. There is another Charizard. It's Leon and Charizard. It's like an alternate. It's not an alternate, but it's a character card. It's super cool, and I'll be pretty hyped if I pull that one. And it's crazy, actually. There's like I said earlier, there's just so much going on with Pokemon. Like they have like they're called Radiant cards, which is basically like the shiny Pokemon coming out in Astral Radiance, which is dropping I think next Friday. And there's like 3 shiny, or they call Radiant cards in there that they're doing, and the art styles are like what they did back in the day with like Neo Destiny, with your Shining Noctowl, your Shining Charizard, your Shining Steelix, Tyranitar, all that stuff, where if you look at the card and the holo just right, like you can see the artwork so well. But if you turn it a certain way and like it's kind of like discreet, it's so cool. So they're like almost bringing that back into like a full art form. And then they have like Pokemon Go cards coming out, and it's insane. Like, it's crazy. I hate it because like my wallet, you know?
Yeah.
So you recently did a very special edition of a card break in the hospital. So, for those that are unaware, why don't you tell us a little bit about that very special dual card break that you did?
Yeah, that was really cool. I was really nervous about that, by the way, because I was like, oh man, like maybe she's gonna be like super professional, but like, no, I ain't doing that. But I just had my first child was born. I had a baby girl, and I knew.
Congratulations, welcome to the Girl Dad Club.
Yes, congratulations.
Thank you. Very excited. My wife's on on baby duty right now while I'm on the cast. But it was awesome. I knew I wanted to implement Pokemon cards at some point, whether it was, I even had like the most obscure idea where I was like, while the baby's coming out, I'm going to open up cards and I'm going to have the nurse film me while I'm opening up cards, and I was like, I should probably maybe not do that. My wife's like in pain, and here I am, just like, here we go. We have Ghastly, we have Pikachu, we have So I was like, okay, I ain't gonna do that. No, and I was like, okay, well, what if I had the doctor? We'll do a pack battle. That was my idea. I was like, okay, let me try that. And so, baby comes out healthy, everything's good to go, and stuff like that. Doctor's cleaning up, take us off all her PPE gear and all that stuff, and so I was like, hey, would you be okay if we did like a pack battle, Pokemon pack battle? And she like looked at me like okay. And she's like, I've done a lot of things, but I haven't opened up Pokemon cards before. So she's like, let's do it. And I was like, okay, do you mind if we film it? Is this okay? And she's like, sure. She's like, totally cool. Make sure you tag me. And I was like, okay, cool. And so her and I did Brilliant Stars back-to-back pack battle. And it ended up being an awesome pack battle. It was a draw. And she ended up pulling a really good card, and I pulled a character card, and it was awesome. It was really cool. And it was really cool of her to do that with me, because it was really special. It was really cool.
It was adorable.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh man, that was fun. I still think about like me trying to open up a pack while the baby's coming out. I was like, that would have been such a bad idea.
Yeah, that would not have been good.
No, not at all. I could only imagine the hate, that would have probably got if it went viral. Oh my god, she's suffering, and you're opening up cards. Like, oh my god.
Especially if you had like a mega pull during it.
Yeah.
Like that would have been.
Yeah.
I mean, it would have been. In the end, it would have been hilarious. Yeah. But it's just you made the better choice there, Adam.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
for sure.
I agree with you 100%.
And I'm with you. I brought toys to the hospital with me for when my second daughter was born. When Callie was born, I bought pocket figs with me into the hospital, and I took a picture of them, with her in the in the little bassinet, little hospital bassinet. So, it's to the point where these hobbies are, a significant part of our lives, right? It's something that these, whether they like it or not, these kids are going to grow up with. So, might as well introduce them from day one, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that was something that I wanted to do, was to bring something. I brought the two little plush. I brought a Bulbasaur plush and a Lucario plush, and I wanted to bring a little something, because this stuff that we have and that I have is eventually going to be hers, at one point. So, got to introduce her earlier than probably I wanted to, but it's okay.
So speaking of the new baby in the house, once again, congratulations. How are you finding the dad work play balance so far?
Not terrible. I thought it was going to be a lot worse. But what's really in my favor is I work overnights at the hospital, like I kind of mentioned earlier. And so I work weekend nights. I work 3 12-hour shifts. So I have basically full-time hours at 36 hours. And so that gives me 4 days off. So it took me a while to get to that point, but having 4 days off is so awesome, and that allows me, time to relieve my wife, during the week, so she can get her full sleep, and that gives me time to create content and be a dad, and also exude, do all my hobbies and all my nerdy things. So it's so far so good. I mean, the first week or two was a little rough, just trying to get sleep going and and get like a routine going. But I think we've kind of got it down now.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I am more tired now than I have ever been in my entire life with two in the house,
Yeah.
and I'm not. I used to be a night owl. I'm not so much anymore. Like I'm totally cool with going to bed at like 9:30 every night, if if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where like it just you got to find the balance.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it just like anything, it takes some time. It takes a few weeks to get a rhythm going.
Well, I'm glad to hear that that you're already hitting your stride with that, because as babies go, get ready for none of that to make sense at the next like mile marker when when they start growing and regressing and changing their minds and having opinions and
I can see it right now. I'm sitting in this room and I can hear, like, I'm in the other room, but my daughter is in this room, and I just hear a crash, and it's like, oh, the shelves, just all the toys fell over.
Well, you never know. Like I said, I have two. My first never dreamed of touching anything that was in like dad's toy space. Like she is extremely, even to this day, like extremely respectful. Like, when she wants to play, she asks, and there are certain things that she knows she can, and certain things she knows she can't.
Yeah.
The little one, once she is tall enough to reach things, they need to move higher. Like it's just everything is in a constant effort to make it as close to the ceiling as possible, because she is one of those kids that, like, when they say kids get into everything, like she gets into everything.
Oh man.
So yeah, it's you never know which one you're going to get until they start moving.
Mm-hmm. Okay. This will be exciting.
So with that, I think it's time for us to head into some Q&A.
Cool.
This segment is brought to you by our friends at Chubsy Wubsy Toys. A traditional mom-and-pop toy store in Little Falls, New Jersey, Chubsy Wubsy Toys brings you the best new toys from the brands you love without the hassle of pounding the pavement searching for them at larger retail stores. Visit them in person at 106 Main Street in Little Falls, New Jersey, or online at chubsywubsy.com. That's CHUBZYWUBZZY.com. And tell them Adventures in Collecting sent you. So we posted I always trip over this. We posted a post. I got to figure out a better way to say this on the episodes. But we sent a post out on Instagram asking for questions. So if you are interested in asking questions to future guests on Adventures in Collecting, once again, make sure you're following us at AIC_podcast on Instagram, because every time we have a new guest, we ask for questions. And this week we have 3 questions coming at us from 3 of our followers, your mutual followers, I believe, on Instagram. And Dave is going to kick us off with the first one.
Yes. So at Work More or Less asks, what do you struggle with most when it comes to collecting and photography?
Ooh, good question. Good question, Jason. Let's see here. With collecting, my biggest struggle is to stop collecting.
Hey, wait, no, you can't say that.
I know that's blasphemy. You can't say that here. No, but I get okay. So y'all asked me this earlier, like, what am I currently collecting? And I get this asked a lot. Like, what am I collecting? What am I looking for? I'm always casually looking for something, and I mean that with there's things on the back burner that if I was at Savers or a thrift store or somewhere and I saw a specific item that was maybe vintage or whatever, I'm like, gotta have it, So I think my biggest struggle is, I guess, being satisfied with collecting, because there's always something that like I'm always trying to hunt down that one specific thing. And real quick, long story, very short. I was hunting a 1997 Nintendo beanie. It's like a beanbag, kind of like a Beanie Baby. It's from Yoshi's Story. It was like 1997. It was like a pre-order item. So for Nintendo 64, if you pre-ordered Yoshi's Story through Toys R Us, they would give you a little voucher, and in the voucher it would say, "Hey, this is a mail-in. Select whether you want a white Yoshi or a black Yoshi." And so people would, mail them off and choose whatever one they wanted. I never did that or had that back in the day. I was like 7 years old, so I didn't know what was going on. So Yoshi is my all-time favorite Nintendo character. I was hunting that specific white Yoshi. It took me 15 years to find that Yoshi. So there's always something that I'm like looking for. But yeah, so that's my biggest struggle is just trying to find that, I guess, satisfaction or satisfied. And then with photography, it's got to be like lighting. It's like, lighting is hard for me sometimes. It's just like trying to pose something in a certain way, and I'm like, man, like the lighting just looks so bad right here. Like, what am I doing? Is it like, do I got to go this way or this way? So lighting is definitely my biggest struggle. Like, yeah, for sure.
Well, I'm with you there on the lighting. And to Jason, who asked this question, who is like one of the kings of toy photography lighting out there. His photos and at I Have a Watu, like those are the two. If I need lighting inspiration, I usually go to their photos and try to figure out, like, scroll through and figure out like what direction their lights are coming from. And yeah, that's like they are like kings among men when it comes to lighting.
A lot to learn from them, 100%.
Dave, you want to do the next one?
Yeah, we could do the next one. All right. At MC Calrine asks, what motivates you to share your passion?
Ooh, just support. I get so much like feedback and interaction and engagement from people that are just like me, or that are just like us, I should say, that love Star Wars, or they love Jurassic, or hey, I used to have that when I was a kid, and like you're showing this now, like I gotta find that, or because you showed me this thing that I used to have when I was a kid, like I just bought one on eBay, so I think just the engagement and that, like, hey, like there's so many of us out there that are just that love these things, and to be able to express them and share them with other people, and they respond and they love it, and that maybe motivates them to buy toys, or to even, like, I've had people, like, this is the coolest thing. I've had people like say, like, hey, like, I want to do toy photography because of some of the stuff that you've done. Like, that is like what, man? Like, dude, that is so cool. Like, that's what motivates me, is to be like a positive influence in the community. That's what keeps me going. That's what motivates me the most.
And our last question comes to us from at Astonishing Pics. Do you have any rituals or processes when you shoot?
Oh man. David, good question, David. Yes and no. I will brainstorm something for a while.
Well, I was going to say, if you don't mind me to hit you with an example of one of the shots that I like, features something that I absolutely love, and I love the effect that you landed with it. You recently did Ghastly coming like out of the Pokemon card with the like the smoke behind it and stuff.
Yeah.
Like where does an idea like that come from?
Oh man. Funny is actually Yu-Gi-Oh helped me think of that idea. So the Yu-Gi-Oh anime. So Are any of y'all familiar with Yu-Gi-Oh at all?
I mean, I know what it is. I've probably seen an episode or two of it. It's with the kid with the big yellow hair and like the
Yeah.
magic cards, right?
Yeah. So basically, they're called dual monsters, and Yu-Gi-Oh is kind of like a form of it's like just a trading card game as well. But in the anime, you would summon a card, so you would summon a monster, and you're on this digital playing field. And when so Yugi would summon like the Dark Magician, and this digital card would show on this digital ground, and the monster would come out of the card onto this digital battlefield, and they would duel and fight. So I got the inspiration of a Pokemon at that point coming out of the Pokemon card, based on Yu-Gi-Oh, seeing that, and then so I the Ghastly shot was hard to shoot because I was like, man, like the lighting is the lighting is so hard to get this just right, and so it just took some time to like figure it out. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to use atmosphere aerosol, which I did, and it looked great. And then I was like, okay, but it's still missing something. Like, okay, well, my wife has a fog machine, so I grabbed her fog machine and I used that as well. I was like, okay, it's still not hitting what I need to hit. And so I'm like thinking of all these things. And then I use like teddy bear cotton. You can buy this at like Michael's and stuff like that. It's like filler cotton you can put into stuffed animals to make them, fluffy again. And so I got some of that and I spread it all out, and I put it between the card and coming out of the card, and I covered up Ghastly stand, and I covered up my light better than I had it before. And it just came together so well after that. And yeah, it was a crazy process, because a lot of times in my photography, like I think I have a really good shot and idea and position and posing, and then I tweak it a little bit. I'm like, oh no, this is even better. And then I tweak it a little bit more. I'm like, oh my God, this is even better. And then and then the chain kind of happens. And I look back at the very first idea, and I was like, that was dumb. That looks so dumb. Like where it started with. But yeah.
Well, it's great too, with stuff like that. Like I'm looking at that post right now as you're kind of talking about it. And for those listening, I'll make sure that I share this in stories when the episode goes live, so that way you can see the post. You have a visual to go along with it. But to me, it's crazy with shots like this, because you look at the final one, right? And like, you can see you kind of nailed the like smoky glow coming out from behind the card, and the way the card is sitting. Like it really does look like the Pokemon card is coming to life. And then, you look at the background and you see that there's like, there's trees and there's grass and everything. And like, you don't really know what part of it is practical and what part of it is kind of, massaged and edited in Photoshop. And then as you swipe through, you're like, oh, this is an upside down like baby wading pool, and there's fake trees, and there's this huge mountainous background behind it. Oh, and there's like other little, Pokemon battle figs that are just kind of chilling underneath the trees. And then, that last view of like your dog walking underneath the setup as as you're sitting there spraying with the aerosol, and it's just like, oh, this is the furthest thing from like a studio with like this finesse, and like you realize that like, oh, like I could totally do this too. Like, look at how he got this final shot from like a very practical setup, in a very normal environment that pretty much everyone has access to, right? Like it's just a room.
Absolutely. Thank you for the kind words on that. That's awesome. And the way you broke it down was I love that. That was one of the things that like I love with photography or toy photography is you can go, super practical, where you do nothing but practical. You can go, super Photoshop, do nothing but Photoshop. Both are great. Both are awesome. Both have their qualities for sure. I like to do like a combination of both. But that was the other thing too, is like with my photography, like I love the practical effects, and I love being able to like show everyday items that you could use and utilize into your photos yourself. Like, so you don't need to be like this awesome wizard at Photoshop to be able to get like a really cool shot. You can, add some, some stuffing here, some, the little fake trees, which I picked up from Target, there was like $3, like you could add all these real elements. You don't need to, sit down and do hundreds of hours of Photoshop to figure out how to get a good photo. Just, throw some cool real stuff in there and just, mess with your lighting and then, take some photos.
Well, I have to say, keep sharing those pullbacks, those behind the scenes shots, because they really are like, not even just to me as another toy photographer. Like I've spoken to people where they're seeing where they comment saying, seeing how it's done almost makes the final product like more impressive.
Yeah, the process is definitely, I think, the coolest part of some of this, and getting to like see a lot of these shots in action and kind of how they came together is so cool. And it's, I think a vital part to what makes, the process makes the product is, kind of a thrown around phrase, but it's, or thrown around kind of statement, but it's true. Seeing the behind the scenes is really cool to just see kind of what really goes into it.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, absolutely, and they're fun to take too, because people like, oh my god, like that's how you did it, and like, and you get to bounce ideas off of people too, which is so great. You get to pick. We're all learning together, so I get to learn things from, Jason from Work More or Less. I get to learn things from Astonishing Pigs, David. Learn things from you guys. It's just everybody. So I think posting those behind the scenes is like you said, it's important.
So with that brings us to the end of our Q&A, and unfortunately, it brings us to the last question of the interview here. So, Dave, would you like to fulfill your role as this podcast's James Lipton and ask our final question?
Yes, absolutely. The last question we ask all of our guests: what is your strangest and or favorite piece in your collection? It can be one of each, or it can be both.
Okay, strangest. Let me look around real quick. Okay, I could already tell what my favorite piece is. My favorite piece, I touched on it a little bit ago, is that 1997 Yoshi story. So again, there's two colors. There's a black Yoshi and a white Yoshi. I'm very fortunate to have two black Yoshis, and then I also have the white one that I was hunting for 15 years. But that is by far my favorite piece in my collection, hands down, 100%. If the house was on fire, I'd grab those first, and then I'd grab my baby. Just kidding. I'll grab the baby first. Strangest piece. Oh man, I don't have crazy. Okay, well, okay. I guess this is probably my strangest piece, maybe, but I think in my heart also equally as cool is and I recently just picked this up. If I know y'all saw this, but if you've been following me, I like to go on OfferUp a lot, and so I go on OfferUp and try to find cool stuff. But I found this listing for a life-size promo Yoda from Star Wars Episode 1. It was a blockbuster display promo. This guy had it. He had it on there. He also had some other cool Star Wars things. Anyways, I ended up picking it up from him, but it's like, it is the ugly rendition of Yoda from when he was the puppet from Phantom Menace. But it is so beautiful, and it's a life-size, like in basically mint condition statue, and that's probably my strangest piece. But I love it because it's a super obscure blockbuster, which was one of my favorite things growing up. Me and my dad used to go rent blockbuster movies every time I was over at his house, so that was a special part to me. But they're no longer around. Star Wars Phantom Menace is getting older by the year, and you just can't find pieces like that anymore. So it's definitely my strangest piece, but an awesome piece.
I still can't wait for a picture of Yoda and the baby.
Yeah, I know. People are like, "Oh, do Baby Groot and a baby, do Baby Yoda and the baby." And I'm like, "Oh, I know. I got to figure out how to do them good, though."
Yeah, that's one maybe when she gets a little bit older, Exactly. But we'll be hanging on, waiting for waiting for the moment. Either that, I hope it doesn't frighten her, because that version of Yoda is not is not very friendly.
No, that
on the
is
eyes.
that is a creepy Van Yoda. Like, what is going on?
That was an epic haul, though. So much 90s Power of the Force stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was wild. Couldn't believe it. Yeah, he still had more. He had like original posters from A New Hope, Empire, like all that stuff. But he knew what those were worth for those. He wanted like premium dollar. I'm like I love the posters, I respect them, but I'm not a huge poster guy. Like, I don't want to spend like hundreds of dollars on these posters.
I'm not a huge poster guy, but I will take that creepy Yoda.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
but take that creepy Yoda. I will.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Adam, thank you so much for taking the time to be on Adventures in Collecting. This was an absolute blast.
Awesome.
Before we let you go, tell our audience where can they find you on the internet?
Yeah, well, you can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. I'm posting more to TikTok. It'll be a little bit more obscure, different things than there are on Instagram and YouTube. But you can find me at all those places at Nostalgic Adam, all one word.
Awesome, and we'll be sure to include links so that way you don't have to go and memorize and go type things. If you just go to the show notes, you'll find a link to all of Adam's socials right in the show notes there. Adam, thank you again so much for taking the time to be on Adventures in Collecting. Good luck with being a new dad. Get sleep when you can, man, and let's do this again sometime.
Awesome, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you all for having me. I really appreciate it.
Dave, you want to send us home?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Adam. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, dear listener, for hanging out with us today. Subscribe, rate, and review us wherever you listen, and then tell your friends to do it. Thanks also to Joe Azzari, the golden voice behind our intro. Our music is Game Boy Horror by the Zombie Dandies. Find more about them both in our show notes.
Follow us on social media at AIC_podcast on Instagram and Twitter. Stop by and say hi, show us your toy hauls, and share your toy stories. Maybe we'll talk about it in a future episode.
Don't try this at home. Void where prohibited and some assembly required. Each sold separately, not a flying toy. Consult a physician if your toy run exceeds more than 4 hours.
This has been a non-productive media presentation. Executive producer, Frank Hablawi. This program and many others like it on the Non-Productive Network is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives license. Please share it, but ask before trying to change it or sell it. For more information, visit non-productive.com.
Waiting for this light to turn green. I'm headed to work for a boss so mean. I'm gonna be late. She's gonna be...
There are some things we should do alone, like sing in your car.
If this light doesn't turn, I'm gonna scream.
But when you gamble, you should always do it with others, because gambling with friends helps keep things in check. So go to keepitfunohio.com for more tips like this. Keep it fun, keep it social, but your singing? Maybe keep that to yourself.
Only at Metro by T-Mobile, you can upgrade to 5G and get more savings with the lowest price on one line of unlimited 5G. Just $40, period. That's it, taxes and fees included. Plus, more choices with the largest selection of free 5G phones from brands you love, like Samsung. Switch and save more, only at Metro. Lowest price versus major national prepaid brands. The fraction of users greater than 35 gigabytes per month may notice reduced speeds, and Metro customers may notice reduced speeds versus T-Mobile due to prioritization. Video streams and SD requires eligible port in and plan. See store for details.